Go. So I'm going to go ahead and open this meeting of the Warwick School Committee on today, Wednesday, February 5th. We have posted this as a hybrid meeting, so if, heaven forbid, we have any difficulty with the technology, we will pause the meeting until we are able to get the technology up and working again. With us all in person, we have Adam Holloway on the school committee, Janice Starmer. I am Diana Noble. Our superintendent has just stepped out of the door, but she will be right back, Carol Learned Miller. And let's see if I can remember your last name. I don't think I can. So with us, we have from Pioneer, we have Annie.
Scanlon, Amy.
Annie.
I know it's a mouthful. Scanlon, and then like think of the first name, Amy.
So Anne, Scanlon, Amy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the end, good friend Patricia Kinsella coming from Pioneer District as well. We're going to go ahead and get started because we're going to start with that. We're lucky that they've come up here to Warwick to talk about Pioneer, and we'll be recording this with the hopes that that other folks can watch this after the fact.
Yeah,
So,
and Brian Snell's attending remotely.
yes, welcome, Brian.
My last name is Snell.
Are you sure?
Last time I checked. All right.
And Brian is our connection to the Warwick Select Board. And a few other things. Anyway, so we would love to, I think we have a PowerPoint brought to us from Pioneer, and in addition to having you here in person. So we're going to go ahead and get started because you have a hard stop at 10.
We have a teaching and learning in Northfield at 6. So we
6.
travel that. And
That's not too bad.
thank you.
We'll get you out of here
Great.
in plenty of time. This place is so sad. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I'll shave your neck.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have gotten the last name right if we had started there.
That looks great.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the spelling of Amy actually works against it.
Yeah.
Everybody can do Scanlon.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We are delighted to be up here with our friends and colleagues in Warwick, and I am so happy to introduce Annie Scanlon Amy to you. Some of you have met her previously. She is our wonderful new principal at Pioneer Valley Regional School, and she has prepared what we believe is an informative and engaging presentation. And Annie will talk to you about what our goal is for this presentation.
Yes, so it's nice to meet everybody. I know some of you have met before, but some of you are just meeting this evening. So Patricia and I were talking, she's like, what do you want the goal to be? And I said, I really want the goal to be that we leave the meeting where everybody who's attended feels like they have the information they need to really confidently feel like continuing the relationship with Pioneer is what's in the best interest of kids, that there aren't any questions left on the table or things unasked. So as we go through, if things pop up that people have like wonderings about or questions about, like, please interrupt and, we'll talk about it. I think rather than having like a formal question and answer period at the end, which I'm happy to do as well, I think ask questions as we go. All right, you're welcome. So, what is Pioneer? My goal for Pioneer is a place where students are challenged and where they know that they belong, that like we are really that place of academic rigor and like, while not at all stepping away from being a place of warmth and welcoming for our students. So, all right. So Pioneer really for a traditional school has a lot of opportunities for hands-on learning. So over the past few years, a tremendous amount of resources have gone into our woodshop program. And you can see these are some of our middle schoolers who are working on a woodshop project. Students take woodshop as part of a elective rotation. One of the things that is unusual about Pioneer in, I think, a positive way is that many middle schools students have electives, but they're slotted into specific electives. So like every middle schooler is going to go through and take these electives, whether they're interested in them or not. And at Pioneer, we definitely push kids and say like, hey, like, we think you should try this. Maybe you don't know if you don't like it because you haven't had the experience, but we also listen to our students in 7th and 8th grade of what they're actually interested in. So one of the things they can choose from is woodshop. And then, so that's an 8th grader. And then on the other end of the spectrum here, we have some of our juniors and seniors who are participating in advanced field ecology. And this is a fieldwork-based science class for students who have already taken AP environmental science. So it's taking what they learned in this rigorous AP class and now saying like, all right, we didn't just learn this so that we could pass the test. We learned it so that we could actually do something with this knowledge. And so it's a field work based class and students go out, they use the grounds of Pioneer, they go to the Connecticut River, and they, do soil samples, they're collecting specimens, and they're like actually putting their knowledge into action, into practice. So.
And that's after they've taken the whole other course?
That's after, so.
So you're not trying to do them both at the same
No,
time?
and the idea is that it's built on the knowledge, so they're learning the theoretical,
Mhm.
and then they're putting it into place with the practical. So I don't know that it would work simultaneously because they need that baseline knowledge to really be able to do this work.
Okay.
So that's. You can change this, yes, thank you. So Pioneer has worked hard to increase our AP course offerings for students. So we have courses, these are the list of the AP classes that we offer. And then also students are eligible to do dual enrollment at GCC. And we are moving to a schedule for next year that will make that GCC option even more doable for students so that they can leave campus and they can go to GCC and they can be there in person to participate in the GCC class. And I'm going to say it out loud so that I remember that I'm going to talk more about this when we get to our environmental pathway and how we're opening up GCC to make it as accessible as possible to as many students as possible. It's also something that I put into the budget for next year to increase the amount of money that we are dedicating to GCC enrollment so that if a student really wants to take a class at GCC and they have shown through, their own like drive and dedication that this is the best spot for them, that there wouldn't be a barrier based on a family's ability to pay for that class.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
How do you work the transportation for that?
So students are responsible for getting themselves to GCC. So if students are going to GCC, they're driving themselves or they have worked that out on their end.
Is it hard scheduling with their courses they're still taking at Pioneer?
So that is one of the things that we looked really careful. It was basically it was a requirement of a scheduling change that we're making for next year, that it had to be compatible with students dual enrolling at GCC. So as of next year, students will have the ability to leave school at around noon. And then GCC has one of their start times is 1. And so we made it intentional that students would have time to pack up, get there safely. They're not rushing. They can park, get in, and get to their class. And then we also have students who GCC offers a wide array of remote classes. And so we have students who are joining remotely.
What percentage would you say are taking advantage of that?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head, but I will find out and I will get back to you. It's only open to juniors and seniors, so it's not something that we would encourage, freshman or sophomore to do. But it's Are you? I will definitely find that out for you.
Thanks. That was on my list too.
And we can go to the next slide.
Annie, some of the stories that you've heard about students taking courses at GCC, like, what's the reason you really want to promote this more?
I think that for some kids, it's a really good bridge. So we see that kids are like, I'm really ready for a challenge. Like it feels like I'm going to like especially for seniors, like they're sort of feeling like, I'm ready for the next thing. And so it is a way for them to kind of dip their toe in the college experience. and to try, like, what does it feel like to be on a college campus? Some students are doing it for financial reasons, where like this is a really affordable way of building up their college credits. And that then they're planning on, applying to UMass or applying to Westfield State or Worcester State, and they're gonna bring those credits with them to that place. And then some kids just have like a really specific interest, that this is something that they want to do. And, we're a small school and we offer everything that, and, so students like, well, I really want to take this one specific thing. And so I'm going to take this one specific class. And we're like, great, we're thrilled that you have the opportunity to take that. So I think it's pretty student specific. And then we also look at it too for thinking about our own course offerings. So like if we see that a lot of students are signing up for a particular class, to look at like, okay, well, is that something that great, they should keep taking it at GCC, or is it something that we potentially want to offer in-house so that even more students have access to it?
Did you say you paid for them to go there?
So many of our students qualify for one free class at GCC per semester. And then as part of our environmental pathways, which I will talk about in a moment, we wrote into that grant that any class that would be part of the environmental pathway, that the grant would cover the cost of that class. So that is regardless of the student's ability to pay for the class. So that might be for a family that wouldn't qualify for a free class, but the class might actually still be in reality a financial stretch for them. The grant will cover the cost of that class. And then I put into the budget for next year, and Jordan Burns was very good about supporting this, and so was Patricia, the additional funds for classes for students who might want to take a class at GCC, who have like used up their free class essentially. Maybe they want to take 2 classes at GCC a semester, and they can't afford to do it, that money would be there for those students.
Would this count toward dual enrollment?
It is part of
It's
dual enrollment. It is, yeah, that's what she was talking
Great, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
great.
So.
Alan Genovese, Chair of the School Committee, Annie Scanlon.
Thanks to
our
meet you.
Very nice.
wonderful-
Yeah, been hearing great things.
Well, great. Yeah, the kids who come from Warwick are great, and they're very proud of their school, so
That's cool.
wonderful.
That's nice to hear.
So, again, these are some of our electives that some of them we offer currently, and some are classes that we're looking at offering for next year. So we have electives in every single department. And then we also really try to grow our arts, theater, wood shop. So a couple things that I'm really excited about that we're adding, looking to add for next year. Our program of studies is not finalized, but this is kind of the direction we're going. We're looking at adding green architecture. That is going to be a 9th, 10th grade elective, which is really great because a lot of times electives are really stacked for upperclassmen. And so kids are like waiting, and we shouldn't always have to wait. So green architecture is a PLTW class, Project Lead the Way class, and it focuses on some of the principles of green architecture. Kids learn about the industry, and it's a hands-on project-based class, and it would be a semester-based class for our 9th and 10th graders, and it would be part of our environmental pathways. So students who take that class are building up those credentials. And then, things that really stress learning about like place-based education. So wilderness engineering, forest management, learning Pioneer has a tremendous amount of land, just like Warwick, we're situated in this really beautiful spot. And so getting kids out onto our lands, learning about the place that they live. And growing our theater department. When I was interviewing for my current position, I was coming in and talking to students. One of the things I heard from students is like, I'm here for theater. And so we're really like, this year we started offering high school theater. We're going to continue to offer that next year, and then looking at bringing in additional courses like stagecraft, where students are learning how to build sets, how to do lights, how to do sound. And so a student who wants to be a part of theater but isn't an actor necessarily has a way to enter that arena.
I missed the first part. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Been sick and recovering. I somehow I got my calendar mixed up. So are you, are these seventh and eighth electives that are going on, or are you focusing now on the 9th through 12? So, because, you know, obviously we want our kids to be there for the whole experience. So how are any of these like part of the seventh and eighth program, or are we focusing on 9th through 12 right now?
So these are high school electives, but many of them are actually potentially middle school experiences as well. So middle school students have access to band, middle school students have access to theater. We have a middle school theater class. We talked about how middle school students take wood shop,
Yeah.
they take foods class, along with sort of the traditional middle school electives of health, PE, and art.
Yeah, okay.
So they get a pretty diverse set of
Yeah.
elective. And then our eighth graders also have access to Spanish. So they can start Spanish 1 in eighth grade, which allows them to go all the way up through, and potentially if they wanted to either do a dual enrollment Spanish at GCC, or in the future, I think we would definitely look at adding AP Spanish.
Got it.
We
Thank you.
don't have that right now, but that's as we grow that program, certainly.
And you might remember that in the past, we struggled with having a teacher of Spanish.
Oh, we still worked out.
We have someone who finished his PhD last year at UMass in comparative literature and translation in French and Spanish. He's also an artist. And he decided that instead of trying to get a tenure track job, he was going to go into teaching high school languages. We are delighted. He is into it. He lives nearby. We lucked out. The kids have lucked out. They love him.
Yes. He incorporates music, and he's a musician as well as being a visual artist, and he incorporates music into pretty much every single
That's right.
Spanish class every day. And I was saying to him, you know, I knew I had this like, oh my gosh moment when I was in his class, and you know, a student who I wouldn't have assumed was gonna be singing a song is sitting there under his breath doing a Spanish book and like singing the song in Spanish as he's doing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, so it's been a really wonderful experience. We're really thrilled to have him. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so these are some of our high school electives. And I'm happy to answer questions about any specific ones that are up there that
I want to know more about wilderness engineering.
yeah, so wilderness.
Mostly because I want to take
Yeah,
it.
right. So wilderness engineering is like looking at like how do we use the resources of the forest to build things. And I should probably pull up the course description that the teacher wrote for explaining it, but it's really looking at, you know, how do I understand the forest? How do I look at like, so, you know, a kid might think like, oh, I'm just gonna go out there with my chainsaw and I'm gonna like cut down this tree. Well, you can't do that. Like there is a way to do that that is safe for you, that is safe for the trees around the tree that you want to cut down. And so I think there's a lot of like learning how to be outside and be in the forest in a like safe and like to have that skill set for students. So
Sounds like a Coco class.
It does. It sounds very Warwickian.
I don't have somebody who's had young kids building things, and if you tromp around our woods, you'll see little shelters built all over.
Yeah.
All the students have an outdoor classroom.
okay,
Yeah.
yes, so it's
This is very similar to other things in the show.
yeah.
And what's nice about that is there's the consequence of cutting down a tree, because sometimes when you cut down a tree that had created shade for certain species to survive, and now that tree is not there and the shade, you'd have other species that then get the sun and start thriving that perhaps you don't want to thrive.
Yes, exactly. And I think, you know, Patricia talked about how we have really lucked out with our Spanish teacher. We have also really lucked out with our woodshop teacher, Joshua Friend, who is such a like Renaissance man. He has so many talents and so many interests. And he is the person who proposed wilderness engineering. He proposed stagecraft. He proposed forest management, of looking at like, you know, yes, we want to teach kids the foundational skills of how to be safe in a wood shop, but then like once they have those foundational skills, like the sky's the limit. And that we can go in one direction of stagecraft and we can go in a different direction of forest management. And we're really lucky that we have a person who can go both those directions with kids.
So skilled. In addition to these courses, the district is working on renewing its forest management plan. So, they're 10-year plans, we're working with John Lepore. Our forest is not healthy right now, and there's been a significant decrease in, a degradation of the habitat, and that has an impact on the number of species. So we know that over the next few years, there are gonna be a lot of trees coming down, and what a great opportunity for our kids. What a great opportunity for our kids to participate in that. There were some red oaks that came down last year, and Joshua had his kids, put them in a safe place, and they're stacked and drying, ready for someone to bring a portable mill up, and then they'll mill them and work with them.
I can read the description for wilderness engineering if anyone would like to.
Sure.
hear it. So again, this is, our program of studies is not finalized yet, and this would be a new course. So I say that it's got draft in giant letters across the back. So I want to just kind of state that, but here's what's proposed. A unique high school technology and engineering class that takes place entirely outdoors, teaching relevant engineering standards through the lens of primitive survival skills, indigenous technologies, and wilderness awareness. Students will engage in hands-on projects that bridge ancient wisdom with modern engineering principles, fostering problem-solving skills and environmental stewardship. The course challenges students to apply engineering concepts in a natural setting, encouraging innovative thinking and sustainable design practices.
That sounds great.
So we can all
I
sign
so
up.
want
We can
to.
all be there.
Either that or these kids are gonna win Survivor.
Yeah.
So this is in the science part?
This would be in our, it would be a multidisciplinary course. So Joshua teaches in the technology and engineering. But it would be part of our environmental pathways, which is interdisciplinary. The idea is that, in actual life, things don't fit nicely into boxes. And so students are taking classes they might have a science focus, but they might also be taking a class on nature writing. And
So when it falls into like graduation, and you have just so much math, so
Mhm.
where does this work?
it would fall into an elective. It would be an engineering,
An
an engineering class.
Yeah.
And students who would be taking it would have already taken, kind of they would already have taken biology. They would already have taken
Oh,
ninth
okay.
grade science.
Okay.
Alan, that raises a great point. Some of you know that we have a new high school counselor this year, formerly known as guidance counselors, who graduated from Pioneer. She is a member of the Dupre family up in Berniston on the border with Leiden. They were former dairy farmers. She went away and, moved away and worked in schools for many years, and I think nonprofits, and had her kids. She's back, and her 3 kids are at Berniston Elementary School. She is our incredible high school counselor.
Amy,
That's Amy.
Yeah,
it's my classmate.
there you go. Arnie is, she's it, and she's a great partner for, Amy.
She is. Amy is wonderful, and she is wonderful with kids. She truly is a guidance counselor. She sits with kids and they tell her, she talks about what are your dreams? Where do you want to be? And then she helps them get there. And so, sometimes that's encouraging them to stretch themselves, where a kid says like, well, I don't know if I can do this. And she's like, I think you can. Let me help you. Let's try this together. And sometimes that is telling kids like, boy, you've got a lot of advanced classes. Like maybe we want to focus on the things that you care about the most, rather than totally overloading yourself and just being, completely stressed out unnecessarily. So she does a really good job of counseling kids through, the course selection process, through college counseling, through, the whole kind of thinking about their time at Pioneer, but also helping them to imagine their time outside of Pioneer.
Are all these electives you've shown us, are any of them part-time teachers that come in and do that?
No.
Or they're all
They're
full-time?
all full-time
Do
teachers.
they sometimes teach other things, a mixture?
So we have a lot of teachers who might, I can give an example of another guidance counselor. So we have a middle school guidance counselor who teaches a cooking class. She came to us with that as she was a counselor, but she also had a background in teaching culinary skills. And so she was like, I found this to be a really positive way to connect with kids and to see them in a classroom setting, to get to know them more fully as people. And so she does that. But all of the classes that are taught at Pioneer are taught by full-time Pioneer teachers. We have nobody who is a part-time teacher or who's, coming in for part of the day and then has like a different job. And most teachers teach primarily in their field. So they're not reaching out and reaching across. And if they are, they're dual certified. So like we have an engineering teacher who's dual certified in engineering and math. And so he teaches some math and some engineering, but he's certified in both.
Could, I'm thinking outside the box here. Could a GCC teacher teach at Pioneer and have maybe some of the other surrounding schools, instead of going there, actually take the course, it's a GCC course toward dual enrollment or whatever, but not just Pioneer, but maybe some of the other.
That would really be a Patricia question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, Peggy Fallon, the GCC, she's great, and I think she used to work at Pioneer at one point. They got some money and they convened a group of superintendents and counselors and high school principals to think about exactly those questions. Are there ways that we can use economies of scale? Are there ways we could do things like have a GCC person at Pioneer, kids from Mohawk, kids from,
Exactly.
what became apparent was that transportation in our rural area, the transportation coordinator nods her head, that's a big issue. So
Yeah, I was thinking geographically, and
It's-
GCC is actually kind of in the middle.
it is in the middle. So it was an idea that was raised a few years ago. They convened some meetings, they had some money, but I don't think at that time it went anywhere. And I'm just gonna keep us reminded of time. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
you can ignore my chat from a while ago. It's just, I'm gonna ask the same question. The, what I'm looking for is a little bit more elaboration, either now or on future plans. One of the things that impressed me about another local district was the use of hard technology in creative arts and other things. I'm talking about 3D printing or creativity with the visual arts or other things. And I know you're doing a lot to integrate nature, and you're doing a lot to integrate the expressive arts, and that's fantastic. Our kids here, I think, at this school district are learning to be users of the technology, but it'd be great to see them expand those horizons when they move on to middle school and high school. So, are there any extracurricular or planned classes in using hard technologies in the use of creating visual arts or physical things like 3D printers, or playing, as one of the other clubs does at another school, playing interactive games with others and learning how to use those interfaces. That's it.
Yeah, so I think that you're probably thinking of PLTW and the Introduction to Engineering class that they have, which often people use part of that grant to purchase a 3D printer. And then students in the class are engaged in learning how to do the programming, and how to do the printing, and how to use the printer. And so we are just looking at adding PLTW classes, and right now we're looking at adding them in like concert with our environmental pathways. But PLTW is definitely something that we're interested in bringing to the school, and I've been talking with our engineering teacher about that class specifically, the Introduction to Design and Engineering class, which is one of their, again, thinking about a elective that is open to 9th and 10th graders. And, oh, sorry, it's up there, not abbreviated. It stands for Project Lead the Way.
Oh.
And it's an organization that is run through, I believe, the 1-8 Foundation. And it stresses bringing high quality, project-based science and technology curriculums to students K through 12. And they have a whole suite of K through 12 classes that they provide the structure for the class. They provide a lot of the PD. They provide a lot of grants around bringing in, like, as Brian says, some of the hard technologies, like to buy a 3D printer is pretty expensive for a school. And so they provide a lot of the grants that are needed to bring in the equipment to actually teach those classes, because we can all talk about like, oh, wouldn't it be great? And then it's like, oh, how are we going to pay for it? So they both provide the structure, but they also provide a lot of money. And so that is definitely an organization that we are looking at continuing to partner with. So Brian, right now, we do not have a 3D printer. We do have 2 engineering classes, and students do learn programming in those engineering classes, and they use the programming to do real things. Like they use the programming to learn how to create self-driving cars, where they get an RC car, they program the RC, they create a program.
Remote control car.
Yeah, a remote control car. They program the car to drive on a track, but they're not like sitting there with the remote control. It's actually like just the car has to follow the program that has been put into the car. So we do have some of that, and we're looking at adding more.
All right, just as a follow-up, I'd encourage you to think along the lines, and I know that Four Rivers is very good at this and has been doing it for probably a decade, using those creative arts, not just on the 3D printing, but on creative arts with audio and visual, because it's so much more. I mean, the digital photography
Yes.
world has gone that way, and so has the other. And you may already being there, and if you have that, great, expand it. If not, I can see how it can be folded in there.
Yeah, I think, for instance, the electronic music production class there, Brian, I think would fit that bill perfectly. And within the wood shop, there is some pretty advanced technology that requires students to be programming in order to use machinery. And then in the classic visual arts, the kids are working with real things, i.e. we have a beautiful dark, it's the best art studio I've seen in any of the gazillion buildings I've been in. It's got a kiln, it's got a classic dark room, digital cameras, printmaking. So on the visual arts, we're pretty well covered. And we want to get better, we want to expand, we want to integrate. But kids have a lot of opportunities at Pioneer to make things.
Yeah, and there are many.
Yeah, and I can see that I've been to the UMass program where I can see how much of that technology is used there. Also, don't undersell the audio arts though, because that's critical as well. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's right. And we do have our electronic music production class, which
Great.
has been a really popular class with our students. And, I think as we move into like our stagecraft class, that'll be part of that, students learning how to, do the audio component of a theater production.
So for instance, last year, there was a nice synergy between engineering and theater when engineering students were designing these light up costume things for the theater class. It was a programming thing. So really nice, right? Those two teachers connected, the kids connected, beautiful science, technology, arts together. I'm going to keep us moving, people. I love everybody, but we gotta.
Okay. All right, we can go to the next slide. So I think this is one of our biggest strengths is we have so many opportunities for leadership for our students and for our faculty. So this year we were part of a NGLC grant this year and last year. Last year, teachers went to Vermont. This is an opportunity for teachers to go and really think about what a school was really different and to observe in schools that have taken some big risks and made some major changes. So teachers went to Vermont last year. We went to Kentucky this year. Gives us a chance to step away from the day-to-day of a school and really just think about teaching in pretty intently. We've been partnering with Mass Insight and AP Bootcamp to help our AP teachers grow their practice. Our middle school teachers have been working with investigating history, which is a state curriculum through Massachusetts, and getting trained in that and bringing that into the classroom. And actually the history teacher that we hired for 7th and 8th grade this year came in with a background in investigating history. She already had been using it. We've been doing a year-long PD, so not just like a one and done PD, but really, really thoughtful with our teachers around high quality assessments. And what we mean by that is, how do we really know what our kids know and what they're struggling with, so that when we're going in and we're teaching, we're really teaching what they need to be learning. And also growing our innovation career pathway. All right, we can. So again, a big focus on community. So this is a science class that went to the Connecticut River, and they did a Connecticut River cleanup day. It was we had this beautiful fall. And they went to the Connecticut River on one of the coldest, most miserable days of the fall. And they had a great time. And they cleaned up a ton of garbage and they felt really good about themselves. And then they kind of learned about, putting their, their science knowledge, but also just like, again, being part of the community that they live in.
I only see one unhappy face. That's impressive.
That's my neighbor. That is, I love her. That is her face.
That's her face.
I love her.
All right, we can go on. I'm gonna add just a few things. Well, I can add on the slide too. So this is another example. This is of community engagement. So this is our woodshop class. We have a Berniston Elementary School student who was part of a moon tree program with NASA where she I don't entirely understand how
Wrote an application.
she wrote an application. Okay, do you want to speak about the
Sure.
moon tree?
A student at Berniston last year. She's with you this year in seventh.
Oh,
grade.
she is?
She is, yeah. Amy Van Dorn.
Oh, it's Amy Van Dorn, okay.
Her dad's a forester.
Okay.
So anyway, NASA's got this great program where they take seeds up into space. They do science projects, bring them back down, and they start growing them. And a very small select group of applicants are given what's called a moon tree. Amy won the competitive application and got a moon tree, which required a lot of coordination among Berniston Elementary School, the town, the district, the foresters, NASA. And there's a astronaut, Gesundheit, who lives, I think, in Shelburne Falls. So she's eventually going to be coming in. So the tree was planted at Berniston in a ceremony last year, and all summer long, the Berniston Rec Camp watered it every single day, and John Poor would come, Amy Van Dorn's father, the forester, would come, in-kind donations, and then I'll let Annie talk about what the woodshop kids did.
So the tree, we wanted to protect the tree. So the woodshop students designed and built both a snow protection, that's what you can see over the tree, and then a fence to keep animals out and, curious people keeping their distance from the tree. And so they went and they designed it and they built it and they put it in place, and that's them. They did that in one day.
With local donated lumber.
Yeah.
Folks who have lumber mills.
Yeah, so again, they have the theory in the classroom, and then, okay, let's put it to use, and let's put it to use in our community. And the woodshop has done a number of things where they've gone out into the community and brought things, whether it's in the school or, here at Berniston. All right, we can go to the next slide.
Does the tree have a name?
I don't know.
I don't think so. And
We call
I
it
don't know if it's a sweet gum tree.
I think it's a sweet gum.
I
That
think it's a
sounds
sweet gum
right.
tree. Okay.
That sounds right. So this is our environmental pathways. This is really exciting. This is a grant, or not, it's a designation from the state where the state has identified that we are an environmental pathway school. We have $270,000 in grant money over the next 5 years to get this program off and running. It allows us to expand our course offerings. So that's the advanced field ecology class, AP chemistry, wilderness engineering. It allows us to offer free GCC classes to any student who wants to take a class that is covered under the environmental pathway. Kids can get professional certifications such as wilderness first aid, and it is allowing us to bring in Project Lead the Way with specifically around the classes in their environmental program. And I've spoken a lot with Project Lead the Way about how to build a sequence of classes from their catalog that really makes sense within this pathway.
And then in addition, students who complete the pathway have to do 100 hours
Yes.
of an internship or a paid job in an environmental field. And we have as our primary business partner, Northeast Paving, which was a stretch for me. I thought Northeast Paving is our environment. Tell me about this, Northeast Paving. Tell me. So this was before Annie came. Well, it turns out Northeast Paving has to pay so much attention to environmental matters. And they are a company out of Europe. So a large part of that enormous company has to adhere to EU standards, which I would imagine are higher than ours. They have ecologists on staff. It's down the road from Pioneer. One of my goals is that Pioneer become an engine that contributes to rural prosperity. And part of that means preparing our students to take over jobs that will keep dollars in our towns. So when the large farm owning families in our towns need CPAs, let's see what we can do to prepare Pioneer grads so they can go become CPAs. When we need foresters, let's have kids who are ready to go to UMass and maybe they've got some classes through the pathway under their belt. Water will be everything. In the coming, water will be everything in the coming decades. We're on the Connecticut River, my goodness. Maybe something about hydrology, water engineering, fluid dynamics. So this is an incredible opportunity, and for us, it's part of a bigger and ambitious vision about what the role that Pioneer can serve in strengthening the larger local economy.
And I think also really meets our students' needs. Like if you talk to the kids about what are you interested in, what do you like to do, how do you spend your free time, they're outside. Like they are, engaging in the physical world that they live in, and they want to learn about forestry. They want to learn about land conservation. They're into this. So, it's not like we're trying to shoehorn them into something.
So the larger companies that are, sounds like are they investing in the school and the students actually?
No, the companies don't need to, it's not a financial partnership between the school and the paving company. What it is it allows students we have a relationship with them where students can do internship and work study programs with different companies. And it doesn't have to be the paving company.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
It could be a local farm. It could be, we have a student who is doing work at Berkshire East. So it can be different. It can look a lot of different ways.
What grants did you win to provide the 200?
So that is the grant, it's the environmental pathway
It's a
designation.
DESI, it's a DESI.
So anybody who
program.
has that designation, this is basically the seed money to get that program started.
And DESI has rules about which schools may apply for which pathways. They don't want to oversaturate any given county with the exact same pathway. So you've got to see what's open.
Yeah.
This for us, as Amy said, this is just perfect for us.
It's such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we can go to the next slide. So this is just community engagement. This is an example of a community dinner that was had, a Thanksgiving meal, where our student council invited in the senior center and, served them dinner, which was put together by our amazing food services, within the school. The kids have really good lunch. I'm very, they're lucking out. I don't think they quite know it because they have nothing to compare it to, but I'm looking at their lunch and going, my kids aren't getting this at school today. So this was a community lunch. You can see one of our students that's actually an exchange student who's there giving lunch, and it was really sweet. One of the girls was there and she was at the table serving all 4 of her grandparents were at the same table. We can go on, or I'll try to speed this up a little. So we have a really strong athletics program. A lot of our students participate in athletics. You have our cross country team here on the left and our boys soccer team on the right. The boys soccer team won their division championship this year and did great. They had a really good season. We just unfurled their banner at a also very exciting girls basketball game on Monday night that was a real nail biter. But they won and they did a great job. And so a lot of students participate. It's a really strong, athletics is a really strong program at Pioneer. And then again, our arts program. So you can see we've got a student working in the clay studio over here on the left. We have the marching band in the middle, and then we have our theater department from our all school play in the fall on the right. So students have an opportunity to really participate in a lot of different arts classes at the school. We do offer a lot of arts. What I think is nice about Pioneers, a lot of it is offered during the day. So a lot of kids who are involved in like theater or band, they're having to do it all outside of school. And, kids do that too, but we're also bringing in, we're offering theater classes. We're offering, band is in the day. We're trying to move jazz band to be in the day. And then our visual arts program, like our Clay studio right there is all one of these events of the day.
And thinking of band, I think some of you know, we invested in reopening instrumental music classes for fourth graders. So all fourth graders have that opportunity. So by the time the kids come to Pioneer, they have had 3 years, if they want it, of instrumental music in school.
And our band teacher has been really good about making that connection between the elementary schools and the high school. So he's been working with our elementary school chorus and instrumental music teachers to build that relationship early.
And having said that, you know, if the Warwick kids aren't getting, I don't know if you are or not, but if they're not doing instrumental music, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
They can come to Pioneer and we'll start them. That's not a problem.
We can slide. So clubs. So we have our clubs. We have
I'll
one
get out of
day.
your hair. Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, I was talking to my mother.
Oh,
But you know what? Since I did interrupt, I didn't mean to interrupt that.
no, that's fine.
Our kids have an integrated music program that starts in Nettie's class 3-4. So,
Oh,
but
that's great.
sorry about that. I didn't realize my mic was still on. My 90-year-old mother just got up and was trying to talk to me without her hearing aids. My bad.
So when on Thursday, students participate in clubs during the day. And so this is an opportunity for them to sign up for something that they're interested in. You can see like they really sort of run a wide range of interests. We've got tabletop games, beginning French, yearbook journalism, chess club, and then we also have RC cars and cornhole club and ping pong club. And kids, you know, they can stick with the same club for the whole year, or they can change every quarter. And then you can see like this is our costume contest that was run by student council.
What is Vocaloid?
Vocaloid is a student requested club, so we really follow student interest. So it is a singing program that has like essentially like avatars where students are kind of attached, like they form kind of attachments to like, oh, I really like this character. And then they use like a program to sing it, kind of like karaoke, to sing and record their voices. And they have a lot of fun with it. But again, like that was one of these things where like a kid came to they said, oh, I want to do Vocaloid. And I said the same thing. I said, what is Vocaloid? And then I kind of said like, oh, put it out there. And if people sign up for it, you can run it. And a bunch of kids signed up for it. And our librarian said, sure, I'll do it. I'll learn about Vocaloid. We said, great.
So these are after school programs?
No, this is during the day. This is during the day, so every student has access to it.
That's nice.
I feel good about that, right? It increases equity.
Yeah.
It's not about if your family can do this, that, or the other. It's like, when you come to our school, here's opportunity,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yeah, and then some of these also extend outside of the day, so like tabletop games happens after school as well. And some students do both, and some students just do it during the day, and that's fine. Student leadership. So we work with FERCog, and we have been able to have 20% of our high school students get trained in peer leadership. That is a huge number where they have been done multi-day trainings, they've gone to conferences, they are trained in how to lead community circles. And so they have been working on this with each other. And now in the second semester, they are going into our middle school 1 day a week, and they are going into middle school advisories, and they're running community circles within middle school advisories. So they're really building that connection and that community between the middle school and the high school, and also modeling some really excellent behavior. And one of the things that we learned from some of our training was we worked with some other schools who said like, hey, we've been doing this with our athletics program. And we've been saying, if you're going to be a student athlete, you're already kind of putting yourself in a leadership position. You need to have some real leadership skills. And so many of the students who do this are like, we really work closely with that athletic department. And it's been great. It's been really, really powerful for the kids who have done the training. And I think for our middle schoolers, they're really getting a chance to like know the high schoolers on a pretty deep level. Some kids already know that they have siblings in the high school, you know, they feel pretty connected. But other kids may not feel very connected to the high school, so it's a way to kind of bridge that gap between the middle and the high school.
I don't know where to go, go ahead.
This is being led by Jeremiah Clark.
It is,
Who's our new
yes.
dean of students, who comes to us with a rich and diverse background of work and military service. And my sense is that he's developing a great rapport with kids.
He does have a very good rapport with kids. He is really good at, he wants to get to know kids and, you know, to think about like when he, especially when you're looking at things from a disciplinary standpoint, because that is a lot of the job of a dean of students, is to really understand the person sitting in front of him and to know that they feel heard and respected and that also like there are standards of behavior and we have to meet them and we have a community, and when we make mistakes, we have to repair those mistakes. We can't just sort of quote unquote be punished and then somehow it's magically all better. So he's been really good with that. Right.
Just a
Yeah.
question on that. So one of the things that, and I'm asking it here because that kind of reminds me that there seems to be such a lack of kids being able to understand civic responsibility and town government. And, you know, we used to have, you know, civics classes and things like that.
We still
So
do.
I don't, yeah, I want to ask you about that. Is that embedded so kids can learn more about, you know, town government and civics and how boards work and FERCog is such a big piece. So
Yeah.
we just have, yeah, elaborate on that a bit. I think.
Absolutely. So we have every eighth grader, and this is not unique to Pioneer, this is true for Massachusetts. So every eighth grader takes a full year of civics as their social studies class. And our eighth grade civics teacher, Miss Beckman, is really good at teaching civics. I think that there can be for someone who, sometimes there can be a tendency for that to be like an American history class. It is not.
Good.
It is a civics class. It is how do we understand the work of government and how do we engage with that work? So I can give an example of a lesson I just happened to walk into the other day in her class where students were asked to think about, they were assigned a cabinet, and they're saying, okay, we're considering cutting this branch of the cabinet, that we're not going to have this cabinet position. Cabinet positions can come and go. You need to understand what the role of this cabinet is, and you need to make a presentation to me as to why this is important and why the work that you're doing matters and what would change if you weren't there to do that work. I think that's, I mean,
That's great.
the-
Timely.
Sure is. Really.
Overall thinking of.
Yeah.
So, but she's really engaging kids in this, you know, it's not it's like very meaningful conversation and really getting them, and you can see the kids going like, I didn't know that I didn't know that the Department of Veteran Affairs did this. I didn't, and and they're like, they're really having these aha moments for themselves. So yeah.
I'm gonna jump in just for a
Yeah.
quick second. So Nina is an example of a teacher new to Pioneer, who is not a new teacher, who we recruited successfully. We are more active than any district I've ever worked in at cold calling, cold emailing, scrutinizing so many resumes on SchoolSpring. When we have a position that's open, we don't just wait for resumes to come in. We are out. We will do a search for every person who's licensed in that field who lives within an hour of Pioneer and go through every single resume.
Nice.
And then start the call. So Mina is and Pioneer is a little different from some districts in that I have complete latitude to place people on the salary scale where I believe is most appropriate. So we give year for year credit. So if you are a 20-year veteran and you're excellent, I'm putting you at the top of the scale.
Teachers week to them, contract,
No problem.
nice.
Yeah, so it's expensive and
Yeah.
Jordan Burns has.
Trying to get that in for you.
But what it does is we bring in some people who immediately elevate the practice of those around them, who can convene. I'm getting old, Mina's a really good teacher.
Mina's a really good
She's
teacher.
a really good teacher. And she's got standards for kids, high standards, higher than maybe have existed in the past. And she with Annie's bring, supports kids. So I feel good about that Pioneer spends money on excellent new teachers, in a way that in some districts I've been in, principals are really constrained. So you've got to hire the brand new person because you don't have it. Yeah, sorry, Annie, I interrupted.
No, and I just want to speak about time
I know.
because it's
I
5:30.
have an idea about this.
Okay.
Our people know that we're gonna be late.
Okay.
I'm wondering do you think that Annie and I could do our meeting, which is online, in another room of the building? So when we finish here, maybe we'll just go walk someplace.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, so
What's happening at?
We have a teaching and learning meeting
Oh,
at 6 o'clock.
oh, okay.
So I'm gonna encourage people, I've shared the slides to really look at the speaker notes under the slide student leadership, because there is so much here. Right at this very moment as we were speaking, we have a student who is on the train, she's there for one more day, who is in Washington DC as part of the Communities That Care Anti-Drug Coalition. And
Out of FERCog.
out of FERCog, and she's there as a student ambassador. And so she has this leadership opportunity, and then she's gonna come back and she's gonna lead our students in looking at their own student data and thinking about what does this mean to us and what do we wanna act on, what do we wanna celebrate? Because our student data actually on student health is pretty good for the Franklin County. But also we have areas of concern, and what are having students lead that conversation about how do we respond to those areas of concern. So we have students who attended the Inspire Youth Leadership Conference at Worcester State, which is a one-day civic engagement institution, thinking about how did they take this peer leadership and apply it not just to the school, but to the whole community. We have students on March 7th going to a Connections Conference, Rise Up to Empower Youth Voices for Better Tomorrow at Clark University. Students are getting, if there is a high school student who wants to be in a leadership opportunity at Pioneer, not just in the building, but in the community, they are in it. There are so many opportunities for them. Jeremiah does a wonderful job of kind of looking at what are the different opportunities in working with Amy Carney. What are the opportunities in Western Mass or Central Mass that we can be opening up for kids? And if it's there, we've got kids participating. Right. So field trips. When I talked about our trips to Vermont and Kentucky, kids went with us. So we brought kids to Vermont. I wasn't there last year, but kids went.
It was great. We toured 3 small schools in Vermont that were so different, teeny tiny out in the country. Like one of them had maybe 100 kids in the whole high school, and one was in Winooski. The majority of the kids are kids of color from all these different countries. Winooski is teeny, like this town, and the whole building had been renovated some years ago. You walk in and there's a cafe. It just doing such interesting things. And Annie went on the Kentucky.
Yeah, we went on the Kentucky trip, which was also really interesting. We saw 2 different schools. Again, we saw one school that was a K through 12 in one building. They really wanted to make school fun. That was really felt like when you walk in through the door, you should feel why is school different than Disney World? You want to be here. It's a play-based education. And then another school that was really focused on, it was in Lexington, Kentucky, focused on creating a rigorous environment for students who maybe wouldn't have had that sort of rigorous science-based environment. It was a science-based school in the middle of a city. And so we are taking those ideas and bringing them, but students come with us. And so students are part of the learning. They're watching their teachers be thoughtful and reflective about how do we make school better, which I think is so important for kids to see. And then some, field trips that incorporate more students. Our 7th and 8th graders are going to see The Outsiders on Broadway. They have all read The Outsiders. They love The Outsiders. If you talk to them about it, they will tell you all about how much they love that book. And 2 of our middle school teachers have just really taken the reins on this and said, you know what? A lot of our kids have never seen a show on Broadway. A lot of our kids have never been to New York City. And so they're all going. Anybody? And then next year in the fall, we're having a 9th grade trip. It was just approved by the school committee to Washington, DC. And we're going to be looking at scheduling our first parent community meeting for that right after February break with, sharing with the community, like ninth graders, we get to go to Washington DC. You get to go to, the Smithsonian, go to the museums. We're going to tour the monuments. We'll be going to Arlington National Cemetery and to Mount Vernon. Hopefully have an opportunity to meet with, our congressional representatives.
And Annie, am I right? This is a connection of eighth grade civics
Eighth grade civics
into
ninth grade world history, which starts with the Enlightenment. And so, and really thinking about, so what are the principles of government, both in a practical sense of civics, but also, again, that marrying of the practical and the theoretical sense of like, okay, like, let's read some John Locke. Let's read some Montesquieu. Let's think about like, who are the thinkers that our governments is really kind of based on. So I'm really excited about the trip. I think it's gonna be great. All right, we can go on.
Are those schools that you visit, were they public school?
Yes, they're all public schools.
What was the K through 12?
That was Eminence Community School. It's a small school in Eminence, Kentucky, and it is a school that has kind of I would say really a philosophy of joy in education. So the physical building is set up, they're really thoughtful of like, what does it look like? You walk in and there is a slide that goes from the second story to the first story. And their thought was, why do you have to have stairs? Like school, and I was talking to the principal and I said, what about the cost of the slide? And he said, schools buy slides all the time. Like this is not an unusual purchase for a slide. So we just put it inside instead of outside. But like it really isn't. If we had put it on the playground, no one would have,
said, how did you pay for this?
How did you pay for the slide? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess schools do buy slides all the time. That makes perfect sense. So
we'll send you a list of the schools that
Yeah.
were visited in Vermont and Kentucky, because I'm sure Warwick is
Yeah.
interested in some of those.
yeah.
I lived in Kentucky for 3 years.
Oh, okay. It's about 45 minutes outside of Lexington.
So I just looked it up.
Yeah, okay.
Between Lex and Louisville.
So this is thinking about kind of how we structure our kind of field trips within the school or outside the school, but also thinking about how do we create experiences that are different within the school. So we have upcoming a high school expo day. This was really born of us thinking about, we need to do a better job of educating our eighth graders about what Pioneer is like at the high school level. So, kids go to tech and they tour it. And they really look at like, what does tech have to offer? Or if kids are considering NMH or Deerfield, they go and they tour those schools, they do a shadow day. But we weren't really offering that opportunity for our students in-house. We're just kind of assuming, oh, they must know. And then you talk to them like, I don't think they know. I think we're making a lot of assumptions here. And we have some really great things to offer. So we wanted to give our eighth graders an opportunity to come up and be a high schooler for the day and get a chance to see all of the great classes that we offer, the electives that we offer, the core academics that we offer. And then that left us with the problem of, with all those high schoolers, well, those eighth graders are coming up for the day. So as a team, the guidance department really led this. We put together a day where our ninth graders are going to do a mountain day. They're going to Northfield Mountain, and it's tying in with their ecology curriculum, and they're going to be doing some outdoor learning there and community building there. We're really trying to, again, create opportunities for our students to excel in at Pioneer, but also imagine for themselves, what can my life be after Pioneer? And so one of the things we want is we want every student who comes to Pioneer to have the experience of visiting a college. They may not choose to go, but we want them to have that experience. And so we're doing a UMass visit day for all of our 10th and 11th graders on that day. They're
Paid for by Mass Hire.
paid for by Mass Hire. They're very excited to eat in the cafeteria.
There's a lot of really cool green tech there too.
Oh,
That would be
And
great.
you've got some UMass Amherst folks on your faculty, so if you ask them,
yeah.
but if you wanna
Yeah,
ask
I'm
me
gonna
about those as
absolutely
well.
add you to the
Actually,
list.
Brian has
Brian
taken
said some
elementary
stuff.
school
Brian
kids there,
said some
so he's
stuff.
seen it from that perspective and I've seen it from
Yeah.
my corner.
When I was a principal in Cambridge, used to take my kids to Smith. So my husband's a professor in math and I'm a Smith. So he would actually take the boys and I would take the girls. So we drive in a bus from Cambridge. What do we do? So anyway.
Yeah, no, I think, and the kids are super excited about it. They,
They love
The food is good.
yes,
But there are
great.
lots of
But they're
others, too.
also excited to like, a lot of our students have never been, even our juniors, and it's like getting to the second half of their junior, they haven't visited any schools.
I think that's a great idea.
So it's great for them. And then, our 12th graders are gonna do a class outing. You know, they're beginning to look at the end of their time together at Pioneer. We want to create opportunities for them to be together as a class. They're gonna go ice skating, they're gonna go to the movies as a class, they're gonna have lunch together. And it's really just about class bonding time for them. And then our 7th graders are gonna have a community day focused on what's their class identity? How do they see themselves? How do they want to be seen? And so it's the middle school team is fully devoted to the 7th grade on that day, allows them to do a lot of fun things together in small groups. So I think this is a great example of Pioneer looking at, okay, we want to do something for 8th grade, and then being able to step back and think, how do we create an opportunity for each of our kids that really serves their needs right now?
So one big effort all in one day.
One big effort all
November
in
28th.
day.
Wow.
It's gonna be great.
Is this the first one?
This is our first
First
one.
annual?
This is our first annual.
So this is what we get when we've got a wonderful team, right?
Yeah, this was something I really want to give the guidance. This is the guidance department. They were like, we need to do this. Miss Gordon, our middle school guidance counselor, Miss Carney, our high school guidance counselor, and then they just kind of made it happen.
Miss Carney graduated from Pioneer with Adam.
And we can go on to the next slide.
Oh.
Do you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, I love this.
this
So
is-
you know that we have a compelling essential skills program at Pioneer. And our kids, we have kids who are staying through 22. So they're in the second year, no, first year of their 3 years after. They have a Friday coffee cart. They make muffins in the days before, they take orders, and on Fridays they go around the building delivering and making.
It's
getting
very
money
cool to
and-
be there when they come.
I
would love to.
it's great. One of our students in that picture also has, I don't know what we call it, an internship. He does a lot of the recycling in the building as part of his educational program. And his work actually matters and
It does.
lessens the burden for our custodians. He's gone off campus to see. He was taken off campus to go see, I think, a recycling plant recently.
Yeah.
Because he's so excited about it. The essential skills program is great.
Yeah.
And these kids are, I would say, I don't want to say protected, that's demeaning. They are welcomed, enjoyed, brought in by all the other kids in the building. At a pep rally, when it's the turn to cheer for these kids, they get a rousing cheer.
President too.
I can
Yeah, this, we can. So we're now getting into our data slides. So Patricia, feel free to jump in here at any point. Class size, 12.2 students per class. Many of our high school student classes are much smaller. But we do not have big classes at Pioneer, hardly ever.
And you will, when you have these slides, for almost all of them, you can click into the source data.
We can go to the next slide, Adam. This is just, these next slides, most of them are local comps. So this is looking at our 4-year graduation rate. So this is our graduation information for 2023. So you can see, like, we are doing really well. And I feel like we're, the schools that are comparable to us, we're in really good company.
Go ahead.
So this is our student discipline data. This is where you want to be on the other end. So looking at students with out of school, like the percentage of students with out of school suspensions. So it's pretty low. We really are looking at other ways of addressing I would say, first of all, we don't have a lot of really serious student discipline. Like, we are addressing student discipline as it comes up. And we're being proactive and looking at, how do we actually, we want to engage in solutions that change the behavior versus just punishing a kid. And also, we have really great kids. They are doing great. They, sometimes need reminders, but they're doing great. We're right on par with the state there.
Are those, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing.
That's okay.
Are those numbers or those?
Percentage of students who got out of school suspensions, and each student is counted once. So if you have 100 kids and 5 of them have had an out of school suspension, it would be a 5%
Okay.
suspension rate.
Thank you.
Yep.
So our student attendance, so percentage of students who are chronically absent, absence for more than 10 days. Or more, 10%, sorry. And we're doing really well here. And I think what I really like about this, obviously kids have to come to school to learn.
Mhm.
But also, a lot of times when kids aren't coming to school, there's a reason. And so when we have kids that are coming to school, I think there's a reason for us too, like that they feel cared about, they feel seen, this is a place they want to be. I just talked to a parent today who was kind of saying like, they're like, never seen my kids, we were at a 504 meeting, I see my kid so happy to come to school, like she just gets up, she gets herself going, she's like ready to be there. And we hear that from a lot of families, that their kid is having a really positive experience at Pioneer, and I think that data shows that. Percentage of graduates attending post-secondary, so this is their schooling for either a 2-year college or a 4-year college afterwards. This is the publicly released data, and Amy did just send me the data for this year.
Graduates of 2024.
Let me see if I can pull that up at my fingertips. No, I'm gonna come back to it, because I don't have it right at my fingertips, but I will send it to you. It's higher, so it's,
It's an improvement.
it's an improvement, and so we're, I think comparatively to other schools in Franklin County, we're doing well, and we're continuing to get better.
Is there any way to get information about? So they got in, how many are still there like 2 years?
Yeah, I
don't
think,
know if there's a way to get that.
I think the state does track some of that, and I will. That's a persistence rate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep, I'll look for that.
to know, I mean, just.
yeah, no, it's important information.
And we know that not all kids, our goal is not to get to 100% on this, right? Not everybody's going to college. Neither of my kids went to college, right? There are other options, and I think it's kind of nice to see. I'll take it.
Yeah, we can go to the next.
By the way, that's a very important piece, because some kids want to go in the
Yeah,
military. some
that's right.
kids want a Career, so,
I think that's why you see 17.7% from 10.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Perfect sense.
So this is looking at our AP scores. So this is an area of growth for us, and we talked about where we put some of our resources, where we have put resources into having our teachers get better training in AP. We put resources into having our teachers work with mentor teachers through Mass Insight, who the way that works is that Mass Insight is not hiring someone who's just theoretical. They're partnering teachers with other teachers who have been teaching AP and have had success in their AP classrooms, sometimes for decades. And so teachers can work with those peer mentors to solve problems of practice, like, hey, I just did my mock exam and students are really struggling with this. And they're not talking theoretically, they're talking to someone else who's been teaching the exact same content for a really long time and can give them like really, like nitty gritty feedback on it. So we know it's an area for growth and we're leaning into that.
Appreciate you sharing that.
Well, and there's some very interesting context. So look, Pioneer looks pretty bad. 25.4% of the scores, not students, but of all the tests taken. Only 25% were 3 or 5. And when you go to the next slide,
Yep,
please.
the next slide is important. So this is the number of participants in AP exams.
This is.
So we're not gatekeeping. We're not saying, oh, only these classes are only for, a certain type of student.
Yeah.
And if we're not confident that you can get a 4 or 5, you shouldn't be taking it. If a student is saying, I want to have access to this rigorous course, then we are saying, let's get you access. Let's get you in. So we have a really high percentage of our students taking at least one AP test.
Yeah, that's great.
So here's our MCAS data. Looking at percentage of our seventh graders last year, meeting or exceeding expectations. Again, you know, with our local comps from Franklin County, I think we're doing well, and we want to continue to get better. This is our 10th grade data. So looking at ELA, math, and STEM. And, you know, we have our areas of strength. We can see that our ELA students are doing really well. Math, and then, oh, it is, why does it say math and math?
Is the blue STEM?
Oh, it should be STE. Yep, so I got that.
No, that's, I should have caught that. So, and then again, that is an area of growth, and that is an area where I think some context is important. So we started last year without a biology teacher. And now we have a wonderful biology teacher, and teachers matter. So we have a great teacher, again, an experienced hire.
We got her from another local district. She
Um,
was the chair of the science department.
And so we brought in this really experienced teacher, and I think I really am so appreciative of Patricia, and she came before I came, but of Patricia and Jordan for being willing to make that hire. And she's also doing a lot of work with our environmental pathway. So some of the colleges that our seniors last year were accepted to, and we're starting to get acceptances for this year. It's really great to hear from kids where they're like, oh, we just had a kid who got into like the School of Engineering at UMass, and he's like very excited. So kids are starting to get their letters now for this coming year, and it's really fun to hear from the seniors about where they're going. All right. And you know, if anybody wants to come, please come. I said that girls' basketball game on Monday was great. It was. So if you're looking for something, you know, want to kind of get a sense for the school culture, you want to come see a game, or you just want a tour of the school, we're always happy to do that.
Both up and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing a tour sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we talked a lot as we went, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them, and you've taken down notes of the things we're gonna follow up on.
Yep.
Okay. We have a whole 6 minutes, so.
Job, you can have time to set up.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I can
That was a
certainly
wonderful-
see, like, I had one of my students went to Pioneer through 10th grade,
Oh,
but he's now 29. So I can see a lot of progress, particularly over the last few years from a distance. And I really appreciate that you've had a lot of the things you've brought in.
well, thank you. Yeah, and definitely I mean, the invitation for a visit is real. So if you want to see it up close, come on down.
Yes.
Who do we get in touch with for that?
You can just get in touch with me. Just send me an email. And you know, I will schedule a time that works for you, that we can come and, you know, we can look at classrooms, we can just walk around, you can, you know, eat in the cafeteria, whatever, you know, whatever you're interested in seeing, you can make sure that you see it.
Also welcome to come down for a game.
Yeah.
That last slide had links to the schedules for the games. Our boys, I think as Amy said, are undefeated. Our boys varsity basketball team, they're ranked #1 in the state. And so those games, the Messer Gymnasium is pretty exciting. at this point.
That's impressive.
Those games.
It is.
And they're great for all the games, but when the kids are performing at that level, it's very exciting.
Division.
5.
All right.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody.
That's
Okay.
great.
Back.
Okay.